all coming to you as energy. So this means that they're not giving you words, they are giving you energy, and your subconscious has to translate that into your thoughts. So it's coming from the fifth down into the fourth dimension. Fourth dimension is our mental emotional dimension, in which we could actually time travel, right? You can think about what's going to happen next week. You can think about what happened when you were 7 years old. But in the physical realm, in the 3D here, we cannot time travel. So those are the major differences here. So in the little blur bubble over on the side, we've got the 3D, that's us in our physical life. We have time, we have space, and we have physical bodies, right? Our fourth dimension, we've got our mental and our emotional. That is, not confined by time and space. And then we have in the 5D, that's our higher self, our guides, our angels, and that's where the Akashic Records are located.
Sorry to interrupt, Chelsea.
Go ahead. No, yeah, please do.
Am I supposed to be seeing something other than you on the screen? Because all
yes. Yeah. You don't see you don't. Oh my gosh. Well, yes, you are. Thank you for pointing it out. Okay, what I didn't do is I didn't share screen. So that's what happened. I skipped a really important part. Let's go back. Okay, I was wondering why I couldn't even see you guys. I was like, that's really interesting, but Zoom changes things here from time to time. So, okay, so this is what you should have been seeing. And, here we were with what we're covering in the webinar and the top 10 mistakes for dowsers. And here we are back into, now you get to see the bubble with the 3D, the 4D, yes, and the 5D. Yes.
I can see that. If you hadn't said it, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. That's so funny. I'm so glad. Okay. So this is how this is working. And so what dowsing is we are actually consciously interacting with either our intuition or with our guides from our guides or our angels, right? That is how dowsing works. So frame of reference, what do you know about this subject? So there are some exceptions to this rule, but in general, you need to know what you're asking about. I can't say, what are the steps for open heart surgery and douse this, right? Like I have no idea about that. I wouldn't know the right questions, right? So on the other hand, I can ask all kinds of questions about homeopathy, and I've structured my charts in a way to where any remedy that is needed can come up, right? Same thing like with nutrition. Now, if I wanted to tell somebody how to start a business and market it perfectly, that wouldn't be me either. That's not my frame of reference. I could do that for someone who is a marketer. They could give me the steps and I could help douse for them. But in general, you need to have a frame of reference about what you are asking. So the exceptions to this are, let's say there's a homeopathy method that you're interested in, but you don't know a lot about. You can do reverse learning, meaning that when you ask what is needed, and then you go and you look up the remedy, but it's your responsibility to do it that way, to actually learn what came up and why, to make those connections, right? Another area that's a little bit different is there is a collective consciousness. And so at some points, some people are able to access that. And another is if you have a guide that is specifically helping you with something. Like, so for instance, Jill Turland, she's the woman who does the mega potencies. She has a guide who really helped her learn about, he's a homeopathy guide. He literally helps her with learning what potencies and what remedies and everything like that. So there are exceptions, but in general, you want to have a frame of reference, or at least the ability to learn in the moment about what you're asking about. Okay, intuitive access points. Who are you talking to? So if you just ask everybody, then you got too many cooks in the kitchen, right? And you may get a different answer if you are asking someone's body intelligence if this supplement or remedy is right for them versus if you are asking, their permanent guides. So because there's the permanent guides are more worried about the soul, right? Whereas the body is focused on keeping the body alive and healthy. So in order to keep on track with this, I just use a chart and I ask which is the best intuitive access point for the questions I'm asking. And you'll get that chart after the webinar. So that will be in the PDF of charts that you'll get. And you can even, and sometimes it's kind of fun too, ask body intelligence one question and then ask, higher self or the guides the same question and compare the answers. That could be very enlightening. I'm in a webinar. I'm in a webinar recording. Okay, one second. What do you mean? Okay. Okay, so like I said, here's your intuitive access points. The main one here, we've got body intelligence. After that is your higher self. So higher self is of course high and has a bird's eye view, but not as big of a bird's eye view as permanent guides or angels or even temporary guides. And then the Akashic Records, if you don't know what the Akashic Records are, this is where everything that has ever happened is recorded. It's no place, it's just in the fifth dimension. And all future possibilities are already there. So there are many future possibilities. So it's not like, the future is there, but the future possibilities are there. The most likely based on people's decision patterns. Okay, so when you are dowsing for others, there are different levels of permission that are needed. And so sometimes people, if they don't have the appropriate permissions, they can get confusing answers. So that's another place where people trip up. For body intelligence, if you are asking for a loved one or a client, your loved one really should be a dependent, but then you don't need permission, right? If a client comes to you and wants to know what remedies or what supplements they should take, they've hired you to do this. This is okay. But anything higher than that, you should get permission. There are a lot of dowsers who will simply ask through dowsing if they have permission to talk to the higher self and guides. So it just depends on what you feel comfortable with at that point. However, once you get to the Akashic Records, you need actual verbal permission, and there's certain information that you need to be able to access a person's records, and they would have to give that to you so that you would have access. Okay, intention. So why are you asking? And this isn't like, oh, you need to have, good intentions, meaning like, you need to be doing it for good. People can actually douse for any sort of mischief, right? But intention meaning just that you are clear about why you want to help somebody. If you just are like, I want to douse for Joe's health, well, that's way too vague, right? We need to know, what is it about Joe that you really want to help? Well, Joe's been having heart palpitations. Okay, now we got somewhere. Let's zero in on Joe's heart palpitations, right? If you have no idea where in Joe's health, like let's say he doesn't really have any problems, you just want to keep him healthy, you can use the organs and glands chart and find out what are his highest priority organs or glands. And then you could go from there to find out what he needs for supporting that, right? So what information do you want? And why do you want that particular information? This is just to help you when you are wording your questions. Okay, so when you are phrasing your questions, this is really important. And we've already established you're going to have your intuitive access point already set, right? You know who you're asking. Also be very clear about who you're asking for, especially if you're switching back and forth from people. I recommend just doing one person, getting them all done, and then doing another. But if you have similar questions, like let's say you've got 2 kids and you're working back and forth, similar protocols, just be really clear about stating their name when you're asking the next question. And then again, be, as specific as possible about what's this issue or what's this situation that you are trying to resolve, right? And what are you hoping to gain for this? Like, so if it's Joe's palpitations, we want them to go away, and we want, whatever was causing this, whether it be something with his heart, whether it's some sort of a mineral balance, we want it all to be resolved. We want Joe's ultimate health and healing to be the end result. Of course, clear wording is really important. And then if you're working on a protocol, a time quantity is really important too. Like, so let's say you're going to give someone a 4-week protocol. Use that wording in your question. Is, Staphysagria 200C the best remedy for so-and-so's problem for the next 4 weeks, right? And then it's really, especially in the beginning, really important to just write your question down. So then you can look back at it and tweak it. If you're like, well, that didn't really seem like it was the right, not necessarily right answer, but because sometimes you get very surprising answers. But if you feel like not confident in your results, you can look at your question and analyze and go, well, was this a good question, right? Did it hit all the buttons? Okay, so this one is a big one. So a lot of times, and I'm just so you know, not everybody has to do this. Some people are perfectly fine stepping out of the way from the beginning when they douse for themselves and their loved ones. But a lot of people have a lot of doubt. And so the best way to alleviate that doubt is to find 5 people. They are not your loved ones. They are not you, and douse for them. Hopefully people who will keep track of their results, right? Like, so then you will learn the fact, you will have proof essentially that you are accurate by their results. Their results will be your proof. Once you know that you can do it, and when you know what it feels like to step outside of like being attached to the results, right? Then you can do it for yourself. Something that you could do too is also find a dowsing partner where you douse for their loved ones or them, and they douse for your loved ones and you. So you trade while you're cultivating your dowsing abilities until you feel like, you know what, I am totally good. And, there might be times in your life where you're very upset about something and you want that person to douse for you instead of you douse anyway. So this is like the best way to know I am not influencing the results, right? I know I detached from the results, and this is what it is. And then you're able to douse for your loved ones and your family. So this is something that really trips dowsers up too, is that they go, oh, well, I know where the pendulum's going to go, because this conscious interacting with the intuition and with the guides, it develops your claircognizance. We all have all the clairs in varying degrees, and you can develop them. And so this actually develops the claircognizance. No matter if I know what remedy, like let's say it just pops in my head, I will still double check with dowsing. Because what if you're having an off day, right? So, but this does freak people out sometimes, and they think, oh, I've definitely told the pendulum where to go because I knew what it was going to do. It's just what happens over the time of dowsing. You just start knowing. So the one of the problems also is not setting up your communication system clearly. In the introduction to dowsing webinar, we go really into this. So I won't go really into it here, but you have to set up what is yes, what is no. It has to be, you, a lot of people put in a maybe. There should be no maybe. You only want yes or no. You are only asking, you're not asking for maybes, right? Or unclear. These things, they have no space in what we're doing. So if you want to know how to really in detail set up the communication system, that will be covered in the introduction to dowsing webinar just tomorrow. Another problem is when your physical, mental, or emotional, or all three maybe, vibration is low. So if you're vibrating and you have, let's say you're sick, or you just had an argument with your husband or your child, or any of these things, this can really tank your vibration. And so you need to be at a high vibration to raise up to get that fifth dimensional energy, right? That fifth dimensional energy that's going to, it's the guidance. It's going right into your subconscious and being translated. If you're too low, you just can't get up there to get the information, right? In the introductory webinar, we will talk about how to raise your vibration too. So even if you need to do it in the moment, like when you are sick or when you did have an argument. Dowsing when you're ungrounded. So a lot of people are ungrounded a lot of the time. So but people who have like chronic pain, they're often ungrounded, excuse me. People who've been through a lot of trauma, they're often ungrounded. It's because their astral body does not want to stay in their body because it's just really uncomfortable, right? So assessing whether or not you're grounded, and we actually talk about this in the introductory webinar, how to assess how you're grounded and how to make sure that you stay grounded. But of course, certain things you can do is make sure when you're dowsing, both your feet are flat on the floor, make sure you're hydrated. And then you can do things like grounding energy medicine techniques. Donna Eden has a bunch of really good ones. And then you can even put in your pocket like black tourmaline stone or carnelian or tiger's eye. Any of the grounding stones can help keep you grounded, because although we're getting that fifth dimensional energy, we still have to be here in the 3D, in our subconscious, to make that correct interpretation. So if you're dowsing for a while and then all of a sudden things seem to get confusing, this is probably because you doused too long for your dowsing stamina, I like to call it. In the beginning, I could really only douse for about 10 minutes at a time, and I would kind of be exhausted, you know? And then that's just where my energy level was when I started dowsing, right? Now I can douse all day if I have to. I hardly have to manage my energy body at all, but it was a big issue for me when I was starting out. So I always recommend to kind of make it a daily practice and just 5 to 10 minutes, literally 5 to 10 minutes at a time. And then you can just expand that as your stamina goes up and as you get more confident, right? Okay. So consciousness, once we are given the consciousness from our intuition or from our guides, we now have the responsibility to act on that, right? The responsibility gives us the power to change, right? It gives us the power to take an action to change things. So if you don't take action, you really are negating your intuition, right? You're just almost discounting it, right? In the same way also as if you douse something and you ask someone to double check you, you are really just telling your intuition, nah, you're not it. I don't trust you. You know, in order to cultivate that strong back and forth, you need to trust your intuition, trust your guidance, and following through is the best way to show that you are trusting your guidance. Okay, so I do have 2 courses coming up. One is just for anybody, and it's accessing intuition and guidance for health, happiness, and abundance. And then the other one is just for practitioners. So it's mostly homeopaths, although I do have a few nutritionists who have taken that course as well. So the first course is 200. There's 8 live Zooms. We do all the basic charts are included. health, relationships, pets, energy medicine, nutrition, shadow work. Shadow work, if you don't know, is when you take and remove trapped emotions from the body, or you replace negative beliefs with positive beliefs, this type of work there. Abundance can mean anything to a lot of people. So for some it's financial, but for some it's their relationships, and so abundance in various forms. And then dream interpretation, which is actually one of my favorite things to do with dowsing, because you can kill two birds with one stone. If you ask for a dream from your guides to help you with a problem, and then in the morning you take the time to consciously interact with what they've given you and interpret it. It is pretty awesome. So with that, with the course, you get access to any future class sessions I run. So for my other course for practitioners, a lot of the other, the old students come pop in from time to time. And that's actually really fun. I do dowsing mentorship sessions where we sit one-on-one, and either you douse and I help you formulate the questions, or I douse if it's like, for a loved one or for yourself and you're just not ready yet. And then of course, there's always a community of like-minded people that is, that's supportive, which is really, really helpful. For the practitioner course, this one's $300. It's also 8 live Zooms, but there's a lot of pre-recorded content. There's 15 different homeopathic methods. So everything about, there's like Narayani and megas and pleomorphic medicines and phenols, which is like homeopathic allergy desensitization. There's a lot of things, but so that's all pre-recorded, just kind of access. And that's for your frame of reference, right? Because you need to know what you're asking about. So if there's certain methods you don't want to do, you would just take those charts out of the dowsing, or you can leave them in and then start learning those methods as you're guided to. So there's over 200 charts in this system here. With this course, we do monthly Q&As. So we jump on a Zoom once a month, and I just douse for members. And so that could be for you or for anyone you have permission for, right? And then answer questions. And again, of course, you get any access to future sessions, discounted dowsing mentorship, and really a really good group of practitioners. We have a signal group that we chit chat in and everything like that. So I'm going to stop the share. I'm also going to stop the recording, so then you can